Hello, students in English 102. My name is Denise Hoyen, and I'm making this screencast to help you, give you some further assistance with drafting your first paper. And so this is a sample paper or a process draft. I call it a process draft because it also covers the process that you want to go to before drafting your paper. So you want to have your paper one assignment available, and maybe your notes on the poems. So this process draft is on the poem "In the Station of the Metro" by Ezra Pound, and it starts off with some gap questions from my students. So I have put them together in the first section, which is the issue section. We're going to describe what the poem is about. So here are some questions from my students and the answers highlighted in blue. And maybe some of you have had the same questions about the poem. Why does he compare people to wet leaves? Why has the crowd gathered? Where is the speaker? What is he doing? What is it about? So once you get your answers together, questions and answers together in a list like this, it's much easier to see what the poem is about, and you can kind of draft a paragraph on what has happened in the poem. So here is the draft of what's happening in the poem, and as you can see, it relies on, or it builds on, the answers from the gap questions. So again, piece together what has happened in the poem based on the answers to your gap questions. So the draft paragraph identifies the speaker, what the speaker is doing, what has happened in the poem, what the people are doing. They're hurrying to get somewhere, what their faces look like, why they look that way, and some of the other reasons for what's happening. They're dwarfed, they're pressed together like sardines, they're dwarfed by the trains and the noise. And then something happens to, or seems to have happened to the people. There seem not to be people anymore, and there seems to be a loss going on in the poem. It's as if they have lost something essential by being in this dark underground station. And then I go to the next line. The scene is transformed. A change takes place into a natural setting, and see the faces. Now they've turned into petals on a bough. What caused this to happen? Imagination makes the people alive again, or makes them seem more beautiful and organic. And you might add the words here, the speaker's imagination. Right? Because it's the speaker's, and the speaker's vision, right, that this is all taking place. Right? So in this paragraph, again, what you want to do is go sort of line by line or stanza by stanza, and you want to try and cover the whole poem from beginning to end. Right? Try not to leave anything out. Try to get it into a paragraph. Right, the second section is the position statement or statements, and here you're going to tell your reader what the position the poem takes on the above issue. And here is a good place to list together your any tensions you found in the poem, any insights, any oppositions, anything ironic, um, contrasts, comparisons, contrasts. After, right, again, looking at your gap questions and your notes. Right, so look here, my 2 steps in yellow. This, after looking at the insights, I can start to put together a statement. And you know, the poem is about technology, but somehow, right, it's anti-technology. And we also know that the poem is suggesting how people can be transformed or changed. So both of these statements are arguments. They make an argument, but they're not quite insightful enough. They're not quite complex enough because they're not as specific. So in the 3rd step, the blue section here, I've developed my original ideas about what the argument is into a longer, more complex, and more specific statement. And please note also that this statement is supportable, right, by the word meanings, by the tone, by the figure of speech, and it really can cover the entire poem. And this statement is also right in a question format. Which is fine as long as you have it specific enough. And I guess the answer to this question that the poem gives us, you know, is it possible that human beings can still retain their organic, inherent beauty wherever they are, no matter what happens to them? I guess my answer would be that yes, the poem, right, is arguing that they can retain this beauty. Alright, the 3rd section, supporting evidence. Here you want to put your definitions from the OED. You can just copy and paste them. Here I was doing this in class, so these are just brief notes from the OED, but you can just sort of copy and paste in this section. And the important thing in this section is to select the best, most meaningful, ambiguous, connotative words. Do not select words about which you have no questions. Because you're going to use the word meanings in this last section, the discussion section, which is several paragraphs long and is the meat of your paper, where you're going to support your argument that you made in section 2. So here in this section, you want to develop the insight that you had. You want to use your paragraphing skills, and you also want to rely on what you've already done in the previous 3 sections. Right, so you want to mention definitions in this section. You want to mention the tone. You want to mention oppositions. So in the first line, right, using my paragraphing skills, I have a topic sentence, what this paragraph is going to be about. It's going to be about an opposition. And it's going to discuss that opposition using definitions from section 3. It's going to use quotations. And it's going to use connotation. And the same with the second paragraph. This paragraph is going to be about a tension. Okay, so my topic sentence is at the end of this paragraph. And how that the word faces suggests a loss of individual identity. Right, so you want to have several. Try to shoot for at least 3 paragraphs in this section. And you want to rely on the work you've done earlier in the paper. Again, definitions, irony, opposition, tension. And there's a concluding section to this paper as well. So I hope this is helpful to me. Please email me with any of your questions.